in this season, I am hardcore doing planning. And so with that in mind, I thought for this CEO series podcast, I would walk you through my CEO process for how I plan my business in 2024 and beyond. If you're curious, some ways that you can start planning your business, you're gonna love this episode. So with that, let's get into it. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. If you're new to me, I'm a certified 7-figure life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. But as I am recording this, I'm recording this at the end of the year. Another one bites the dust. Can you believe it? Wow, we are at the end of 2023. I feel like it was just 2020, right? And all the craziness that was going on with the pandemic. And now we're almost 4 years beyond that, which is just insane. Time really flies by, but I love this time of year, not just because of Christmas and family and the winter holiday and all of that, but because my favorite ever holiday outside of my birthday, even though I know my birthday isn't a real holiday, but my favorite holiday is actually New Year's. And I love New Year's because I love the idea of a fresh start, of turning over a new leaf. And I really love planning. I just love planning and setting goals. And so any opportunity that I have to do that, especially in my business, I'm all for it. And so in this season, again, as I'm recording this, we're a week until the new year, I am hardcore doing planning. And since I'm doing planning, I'm actually doing planning a little bit differently than how I did planning in the past. Now that I'm really focused again on stepping into my CEO role, right? My CEO era, and building not just a business, but a company. And so with that in mind, I thought for this CEO series podcast, I would walk you through my CEO process for how I plan my business in 2024 and beyond. And if you're not familiar with my CEO series, this is a type of podcast that I do once a month that really peels back the curtain and shows you the behind the scenes of what it looks like for me to work my way into my CEO role, right? I am learning this. So this is not, me being a guru and telling you how to expertly be a CEO in your business, but more so me being transparent about what it looks like for me to figure this out. Because most of the information that I found online in the space of entrepreneurship is heavily focused on marketing and getting sales, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? If people don't know how to get sales and get clients and they don't really have a business, but I found it difficult to find information beyond that. Like once you've nailed that down and you're getting clients consistently, how do you build a company that's really going to stand the test of time? And you do that by shifting from just being a coach to being a CEO. And so that's what this podcast series is all about. And so with that, if you're curious, some ways that you can start planning your business, again, not just as a solo entrepreneur, but really with that CEO mindset in mind, you're going to love this episode. So with that, let's get into it. All right, so I'm in this planning season, and the first thing that I am focusing on are my priorities. And I think priorities are important to point out because most entrepreneurs, when they're looking at their business this time of year, again, planning for the new year, 2024, they tend to make goals, right? And I remember those days when, I was looking at my business and I had a goal of quitting my job, or a goal of hitting 6 figures, or a goal of launching whatever, a program, or a goal of writing a book or whatever. While there's nothing wrong with goals and there's certainly a place for them, in fact, I'm going to talk about that in this planning session, I find that goals are actually not the first thing that you should be focused on. Your business priority is the first thing that you should be focused on. And by priority, specifically what I'm talking about is the most important objective you need to be achieving in your business in order to get to the next level. Now, this is different from goals because you can have any type of goal, right? I still have a goal of writing a book. I feel like I've been talking about this for 5 years. One day, I'm going to come out with a book. One day. But even if I'm focused on writing a book, I have to align that with what the highest priority is in my business. And so when I was first getting started building my business on the side and I wanted to quit my job, while that was a goal that I had, my priority was actually in finding an offer that I was going to be able to sell for the amount of money necessary in order for me to quit my job. So hopefully you see the difference in that, right? I had the goal of quitting my job, but the priority was in nailing my offer, right? For many people who are just building their business, maybe their priority is in nailing their niche, right? They can't even come up with an offer until they're clear on what their niche is. So your priority is going to be based on where you are in business and ultimately where you are going. In the beginning stages of my business, I was really focused on nailing that offer. Once I nailed that offer, I want to say in 2021, I started to really focus on how I could sell that offer consistently. So my priority was less around the offer because I knew what that was. I knew that I could get results, that I didn't have a problem selling it. It was more so what was the consistent sales mechanism that I was going to use, that I was going to be able to scale with. And so once I nailed that down in 2021, I ended up having my first 7-figure year in 2022. And I'm proud to say here in 2023, this has also been a 7-figure year. So now I'm focused on, yes, I have a goal of hitting multi 7 figures or even 8 figures in a few years, but I know that my priority in order to get there is actually not sales and not coming up with an offer, but operations. Yes. One thing that I feel like no one talks about when it comes to hitting 7 figures is the amount of operational complexity that brings to your business. So in many respects, things get more simple because you know what your niche is, you know what your offer is, and you can kind of like focus on the things that you know how to do well. But also things get more complex because now you have multiple people working for you. I'm at this level where I don't just have people who are doing things for me. I am now installing leaders who can manage the people who are doing things for me. So now there's becoming a hierarchy where now there's like 3 levels of work in my business. There's me, there's my leadership level, and then there's those who are supporting me by doing the work, where before it used to just be me and then those doing the work. So I'm really focused on dialing in my operations because I know it's not going to be possible for me to hit my 7-figure and 8-figure goals and even beyond all the things I want to do, right? I do want to focus on writing a book, but I can't focus on writing a book if our operations aren't cleaned up, because if our operations aren't cleaned up, then I'm always going to be the one putting out fire. So you see how the goals are good, but your priority is ultimately what makes your goals possible. So for me, the priority is operations. Operations all day long, not just hiring people, but really getting clear on what are the processes, SOPs, standard operating procedures that we need to follow in order to execute on our offers, make our customers happy, and keep this ship floating, right? All these videos that I'm putting out and all this content that we're creating, again, I'm very much so operationalizing my business so that my hope is once that priority is nailed in 2024 and 2025, we can really fly with a lot of the different things that I want to do. There's different business avenues that I want to get into. I do want to write that book. I want to expand our operations in South Africa. Some of you know half my team is based in South Africa. So there's a lot of different things that I want to do, but this is a high priority for me because I know that operations is the next domino that ultimately unlocks those things. So when you are planning your business, before you even look at your goals, you'll want to ask yourself, what is the highest priority thing that I need to master, or what milestone do I need to overcome so that all these other goals that I have for myself are even possible? And typically that's going to be based on where you are in business. If you're very, very new and just beginning, it might be nailing your niche. If you know your niche, but you're trying to get traction and getting customers, it might be dialing in that offer. If you've got an offer and it sells, but it's just inconsistent, then it might be dialing in that selling mechanism. And once you've mastered that, usually when you master that, that's when you start to cross into the 7 figures. Then the conversation becomes around operations and teams. All right. So then once you know your priority, then you can start to think about your goals. But again, before you go off and, my goal is I want to write a book, or my goal is I want to quit my job, etc., there is a CEO way to think about goals as it relates to your business. And I can't take full credit for this. I have to give credit to my darling husband who really helped me through this. So my husband is an executive at a very large company and he has his MBA as well. And so when I was talking through all these different things that I wanted to achieve, he had asked me, hey, have you ever heard of the balanced scorecard? And I was like, what? No, what is that? And so that's something that he learned in his MBA program. And it's something that he does at his company. And this is very common. A lot of Fortune 500 companies do this. And so we took some time, we went to a coffee shop. It was kind of like a fun work business date. And we went through this balanced scorecard for my business. And so what a balanced scorecard is it's essentially looking at 4 key components of your business and setting goals in those components. And so what's beautiful about this is once you have goals and those 4 key components, everything just kind of flows beyond that. And so the 4 key components that you'll want to focus on are financials, customers, operations, and then innovation. Some people call this learning. And you might see it named different things, but these are the 4 key arenas that you'll want to focus on and really dial in your goals. And so that's what we did and what we worked on. And I found that this was hugely helpful because it allowed me to look at all the projects that we are doing, even the new hires that I was making, and kind of connect, their work and what they're doing, again, those projects. It allowed me to connect everything to goals that we have in one of those 4 areas. And those 4 areas are really powerful because it pretty much encompasses every arena of your business. Like there's not something that's going on in your business that's not going to fall into one of those 4 categories. And so as long as you have your eyes on those 4 categories as the CEO, and you make sure that you have goals that you are tracking in those 4 key categories, your business should not only be sustainable, but it should allow it to grow. And so with my priority in mind, right, which is cleaning up our operations, I started to come up with goals in those 4 areas that really aligned with that. And so for our financial goals, I came up with financial goals that I believed are possible if we clean up operations, right? Particularly our operations around sales and enrollment. We're hiring a lot of people in that department in my business. And so kind of managing the chaos of managing different people and reviewing calls and making sure that we're all on the same page. I know, again, if we not only have the right people, but we have the right processes in place, I'm very confident that, we should be able to generate $500,000 a month, just in sales if those particular operations are cleaned up. And so while we've done $500,000 a month occasionally, like 1 month or 2 months or whatever, I would love to see that consistently. And so knowing that, I came up with a goal with like, wow, I would love to hit 6 million, right? That would be my multi-7-figure year. I would love to hit 6 million in my business. And I think it's possible if we have operations cleaned up over here. So again, hopefully you're still seeing how you keep the priority the main thing, but as you think about those 4 key areas, your finances, your customers, your operations, and your innovation, you can start to come up with goals that are doable for you or make sense based on the priority that you are focused on. And so again, with that priority being operations, I was able to come up with financial goals that made sense based on what I know is possible if we clean up those operations. I also came up with specific goals for our customers, but they were all operationally focused. So someone else whose priority might be around sales or doing something else might have goals around the certain amount of customers that they want to attract to their business, or the certain amount of value or spend that they want those customers to spend. Again, because we're focused on operations, I came up with goals around customer satisfaction scores, around course completion, clients who take my programs and things, how quickly they're getting through all of the content. Again, I came up with goals along those lines because those roll up to my priority ultimately, which is around operations. And so operations is itself its own category. And so I had specific goals within operations. I have goals around being fully staffed. I looked at my organization chart. I looked at the work that we're doing, and I identified holes in my organization chart, right? There are people that need to be in place that aren't in place, or rather I'm the person, right? I'm the head of like 5 different departments. And so that's where a lot of my hires are coming in. I've hired a sales manager. I've hired a marketing and customer success manager. I've hired an operations and product development manager. I'm currently looking at fractional CFO services because I don't think I'm at the place where I need like a full-time CFO, but I do need some CFO support. And so I know I can get that fractionally, and I'm looking to put a leader there. So again, I'm just looking holistically at my business. Where are we short staffed, so to speak, or where are there gaps, and where can I hire? So that's a goal, being fully staffed. I also have goals around completing all of our SOPs. This is something that we started in 2021, but if I'm being honest, that wasn't the priority because we really needed to dial in our sales mechanism. So we did focus on what we were supposed to focus on in 2021, which was nailing down that sales mechanism, and that scaled us to 7 figures. But now that we're here, I'm recognizing that, okay, operations is the priority. And so I'm looking at all of the things that we do, a lot of the institutional knowledge that I have and that people on my team who have been with me from the beginning that they have, it's difficult because you know how to do things. And so oftentimes you're reluctant to try to like document it because you're like, oh, it's just faster if I do it because I know how to do it. But that becomes an issue because as you hire new people, they're not in your head and you don't have a repository of like all of your processes and procedures in order to explain that to them. So that's actually something that we're coming up against as I'm hiring new people. They're like, oh, where is this? Or, where do I get the information on that? And I'm like, ooh, it's in my head, right? So one of my goals for this year is making sure that all of our standard operating procedures, all of those SOPs are outlined and documented so that as we continue to scale the company and put new people in place, they'll have everything that they need in order to be successful. All right, and with that last section, which is innovation, I'm actually really excited about different things that I want to do and different goals that I have. So again, our priority is operations. And so I made sure to set goals in the innovation category that relate to innovating our operations. In particular, I have a lot of customer success things that I want to do. I want to create customer experiences that are loosely based on luxury goods and luxury brands. So you've probably heard me talk on this channel about Cartier, right? I read the book about the family and I was really fascinated about how they built their business. I'm currently reading about Coco Chanel and Estee Lauder, and I'm loving how they have created customer experiences that really wow their clients. And I find that businesses in the luxury space do this really well. And so as I'm planning the year, I've already identified different conferences that have nothing to do with coaching, but are in the either luxury goods arena or luxury hospitality that I want to go to, right? I want to pay for myself and for my team to go to so that we can learn some nuggets about how they do things and then apply that here to our business here in coaching and then create innovation. So that's another hint for you. Innovation isn't always about coming up with something new, but it's about taking something existing from a new place and applying it to your space and seeing how new it is when you apply it in a way that it's never been applied before. So I'm really excited about that. Again, you have those conferences on deck, but that's just an example of how I have innovation goals, but they're still related to that priority of operations. All right, so once you've identified your priority and you've come up with goals in those 4 categories in your business that match your priority, the next thing is to come up with projects that will help you achieve those goals. So I've talked about this in detail in my video, which you can check out here, which is all about how to set goals like a millionaire. And this process is similar and you can apply it to your personal life. But once you've identified your goals, the next step is to identify projects. And projects are short-term initiatives that you're gonna do over the course of some days or some weeks that if you can complete them, your goal will almost happen automatically. And it's no different in business. Again, if you have a specific goal of attracting a certain amount of clients or hitting a revenue goal, or like me, you want to be fully staffed, you then need to come up with what are the projects that we need to do? What are the initiatives that we need to do that's going to make that happen? One of the initiatives that we're working on for 2024 is a client acquisition pipeline, right? So we often talk about funnels and pipelines when it comes to attracting clients, and most businesses are used to building that and having that on autopilot all the time so that new clients are always coming in. But a lot of businesses don't build that same pipeline for talent acquisition, right? New people who are looking for employment elsewhere who have the skills that you need. And so we're going to be working on building a talent pipeline so that as our business grows, whenever we have a need and we need someone, we already would have had somebody in the wings because we have a pipeline where we're consistently and constantly interviewing people that have the different skill sets that we are looking for. So that's just an example of a project, right? It's short term. Once the pipeline is built, it's built. But I know that if that project is completed successfully, that's going to help us achieve other goals that we have, such as being fully staffed, automatically. So you want to ask yourself, what are the projects in your business that if you complete them, it will help you achieve the goals that you've outlined for yourself automatically? Now, as you're thinking about those projects, there's 2 things that you need to keep in mind that are very important. And this is across the board, regardless of where you are in your business. 1, you want to ask yourself, who are the people that I need in order to make this project happen? And 2, what are the processes that they need to follow in order to make this project happen? I find that a lot of entrepreneurs create unnecessary stress for themselves because they set these big goals and then they set up these projects and they're like, yes, we're going to achieve all of these amazing things. And they don't ask themselves if they have the people in place that can help them achieve those things. And even if they have the people, do they have a documented and outlined process that's going to help them achieve those goals and achieve those projects? So that is something that we are focused on as well. For instance, in the example that I just gave about creating a talent acquisition pipeline, I need to ask myself, do I have someone on my team that has the skill sets to do that? And even if I do have someone on my team with that skill set, do I have a process in place for them to follow? Now, the key thing that I'm also learning is as you start to hire people in more senior roles in your company who have a level of leadership, you can actually leave the process up to them. When I was first starting in my business, I, again, was the one that knew everything. And I was just hiring people to help me on information that I already had or processes that I had already built. So everything kind of fell on me. But now that I'm stepping into the CEO role, I'm really seeing the value of hiring people who are experts and leaders in their own capacity, right? When I think about the managers that I'm bringing on or the directors in these different departments, I see them almost as like mini mini CEOs in their own swim lane, right? So the person that I'm hiring for management in my sales department is almost like the CEO of sales, right? And the person that I'm hiring for customer success is almost like the CEO of customer success. And so the beautiful thing about hiring people who have experience, yes, you've identified the person that's going to be responsible for that, but you can also have them design their own process. And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we get in our people's way that we're hiring because we're dictating, well, this is the software that you need to use, and this is the process that you need to follow. But if you hire that person because they're an expert in their arena and they're going to bring something to your organization that you don't have, allow them to design the process that works for them, because at the end of the day, you want them to do it, not you, right? And I had to get clear on this. I remember even a year ago when we were looking at project management software, at first I was dictating and saying, oh no, we need to use the software. But then I asked myself, am I the one that wants to manage the projects? No, I don't want to manage the projects day to day. And so I asked my project manager, who's responsible for that, what software do you want to use? And they said, well, this is the software that works for me. And I said, done. That's the software that we're using. So when you're thinking about the people that are going to help you achieve those projects, ask yourself, is this person a leader? Is this person an expert? Or is this someone who I am just hiring to help me do the thing, but I essentially have to be the leader and the expert? And if you are able to hire someone who has that leadership capability, allow them to design the process, because they will design it in a way that works for them completing the work, and them doing the work is what you want them to do anyway. All right, hopefully this was helpful for you as you think about how you can plan your business like a CEO in 2024 and beyond. And if you want to be the CEO of your own coaching business and you're looking to launch your coaching business in 2024, I highly recommend that you sign up or at least learn more about my signature coaching program, The Next Big Name Coach, which will not only show you how to launch your coaching business, but will also walk you through the process of getting an accredited coaching certification, coming up with your own coaching methodology, and we even work with you to help you nail your own niche and come up with your coaching offers and packages. So it's a very, very robust program that has a lot of benefits. You can learn all about it by clicking the link in the description box. And if it sounds interesting to you, go ahead and apply. And if accepted, you'll be invited to a call with my enrollment coordinators who will walk you through the entire process. All right, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok. It's CourtneyLSanders on both. And with that, I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye.